I did not run sales. I run thank yous. And so every client that came in, I send them a thank you, knocking on people's doors, and when the door opens, understanding that I have 3 seconds to decide 4 different ways of how I'm going to respond to the person. I was looking at $1 million backyards back in the day when we thought a sale of, let's say, $200,000 was great.
Hey, and welcome to the 513 podcast, where we talk about business, leadership, and legacy. This week, I sat down with Ron Yoder, sales director at Keystone Outdoor Living. We talked about how to honor people in business and how to go above and beyond for your employees and your customers. Here's how that conversation went.
Really got my sales start is I had Ryan Glick, this young man that was single and not married. Hello. And he gave me a lot of pointers, and that's where it took off from there.
Yeah. I felt very underqualified training you, and then you kind of took it off from there, which was awesome to see. Well, thanks again, Ron, for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Very excited to have you here. We worked together previously at Keystone, but can you start off by just sharing your role, how long you've been at Keystone, and your name?
Yes. Yeah, I've been at Keystone for just over 10 years and started there in the sales side of Keystone. It was I was the first full-time position. Yep. There was matter of fact, you would have been a part of the sales side, but in sales and designs, we're kind of taking that role, like a double role. So it was a whole new adventure. I told Marv that, he's taken a big gamble in putting me in that position, but Marv's very good at pulling out he sees things within people and pulling those giftings out, and he's seen something in our interview that I did not see, but it allowed it to come alive.
That's cool, because very similar story with me and Marv. He pulled out a lot of things that I did not see, which helped me grow in my confidence and just a variety of things. So a huge shout out to Marv for impacting both of our lives in a very positive way. Can you share a little bit about before you got to Keystone? What were you doing before, and your family life as well?
Yes, my father and I. My father would have started at this garage. And then after school, I would come and I would pump gas, because full service back then, you could pull in and someone would pump your gas. They would wash your windshield, check the air in the tires if you needed. So that was called full service. So after school, I would go do that. And that's really where I didn't realize the sales started coming in at, because I enjoyed people. I would also, all of a sudden, the word got out, and especially among the seniors, that, hey, if you go by this gas station, Little Ron, they called me, would take good care of you. And so I thrived on that, to see about the repeat customers and how to drum up more customers, just in the simplicity of cleaning their windshield, talking to them, and taking good care of them in that way. And then the next step probably would have been working there for the owner of that garage. He was busy with clients, and I learned back then already to look at ways to serve people over and beyond what is would be the natural. So I call it double honor today. There's a side of us that God calls us to honor every human. We won't get into the subject of honor versus respect, because there's a vast difference, but we are called to honor. And so, but back then I would double honor, and that is, you always go over and beyond. And so I started doing that and seeing what change that had made. And in that, just everything duplicated from there, because then I became the owner of the garage and quadrupled the business in less than...
Well, I did not know that was... You became the owner of that garage?
Yeah, I did.
At what age?
I would have been 22.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy.
Went from a 4-bay garage to a 10-bay garage, 3 employees to 10 employees.
Okay.
In a very short window of time. Um, but I credit it back to of understanding and embracing the double honor.
Mm-hmm.
Learning people's personalities to me has been the greatest key
Mm.
because again, when you understand personalities, how much greater you can serve that person.
Yeah.
So to me, that I've only learned that in the last probably 9 years.
Okay.
But to me, that's where the shift happened in sales. So leading up to, yeah, that was in that business. Then of course I was in a couple nonprofits in North Carolina and Colorado,
Yeah.
and then came to Keystone.
How long did you run that shop for?
Run it for 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you sell it
I
or?
sold it.
Okay.
Yep. Sold it, moved to North Carolina, went in full time ministry there.
Yep.
Did that for another 8 years and then moved to Colorado, more of a campus pastor
Mm-hmm.
there in Colorado for 7 years.
Okay.
And now here
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear more about your shop experience.
Yes.
Because you're 22, you take over the shop. First off, how'd you have the opportunity to take over the shop? What was that?
Yeah, so that really played into the fact, again, when you go over and beyond, there's opportunities that come before you. And so I was the youngest one at the shop. But one thing that I learned is when my boss would leave, and he loved to go on these mini vacations, and I was the youngest one there, but I would rally the two other guys there, and
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll make more money while he's gone. And
Yep.
we did it every time.
That's
And
awesome.
in that, every time he would come back, I'd get a bonus, and he'd be like, Ron, he says, I should just go more often. And I'm like, of course. You leave, we'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And we'd always make more money while he was gone. And in that, when it came to a point to where he wanted to sell, he came to me. And of course, the banks at that given time loaning that type of money said, no, there's most people aren't even out of college at that time.
Yeah.
And there's no way they're going to loan it to someone that at that time was 21. And in that, yeah, that whole process, they did loan me the money. And they said that, your first year to 2 years, you may lose money or break even.
Mm-hmm.
And to make a long story short, I paid them off in like 3 times faster than originally planned. And they actually came and did an interview way back in that day because of the process and how you can, if you're focused, and if honestly changing up the dynamic of how you do business, being team oriented was huge. Prior to that, was everything was individualized and went directly to team oriented, and was able to quadruple the amount of vehicles that we could service with that mindset, and totally changed everything in that
Wow.
perspective. So
That's really cool. So like being 22 and taking over the shop, obviously you had some leadership talent, or just a natural ability to rally people, lead people. But we're some to encourage some other young leaders. What are some other things that helped you to grow it to that scale? Obviously, double honor, and really taking care of people. But what else did you learn during that season that helped you continue to grow it and keep it growing?
Yes. So I think the greatest thing is believing in people, having high trust. So at that given time, giving people responsibilities, says, I'll help train whatever you need.
Yeah.
You just let me know. But in that, it really grew their area.
Yeah.
And they took responsibility. They owned it, and they loved that. Did not micromanage at all. To me, and that was kind of a foreign concept back in that day. Wouldn't know those terms
Yeah.
as I do today.
Yeah.
But it was a lot more team oriented in the fact of giving people responsibility. If they made a mistake, let's just learn from it. Let's go on. We don't spend much time on the mistake.
Yeah.
What can we grow from? So that would have been what really shifted everything. The other side of it, from a customer side, I enjoyed. There was 5 other garages in our small town, And so I began to see how they would run sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that I did not run sales. I run thank yous.
Hmm.
And so every client that came in, I send them a thank you. But I would do billboards thanking the community for trusting in us to service their car.
Yeah.
Everyone else was selling 3 tires and you get the fourth one free. I never run any sales,
Hmm.
but I would run ads all the time, thanking people for entrusting in us in their business, and that really shifted for our business in growth. Also, changing that mindset of how can I receive something from someone
Yeah.
instead of reversing it and say, what can I give you?
Yeah.
And people love to be complimented.
Mm-hmm.
People love to gain something. And just by seeing that, I would get so many people would come by like, hey, we never used you for our service, but I see your billboards.
Yeah.
And that in itself generated a lot
Hmm.
of new clients.
That's really cool. Do you feel like that? I mean, it was gratitude and generosity kind of
Mm-hmm.
combined. Do you feel like that was it was that easy to instill in your team as well, or did that just bleed from you, or did you hire the right people, or were there challenges in that?
Yeah, that would have been because in that setting, I was the primary face
Mm-hmm.
to the clients. And so from that, the ones that worked in the shop did not have much interaction with the clients. Um, now, I felt like that was a major part of also at how I would take care of my employees
Mm-hmm.
in the same way.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long prior to that I accepted Christ as my Savior,
Mm-hmm.
got born again, and yeah, I was pretty radical for my Redeemer. And in that, I would invite my employees. They could come on Wednesday mornings an hour early, and I'd pay them
Mm-hmm.
just for a Bible study.
That's
They
cool.
weren't required,
Yeah.
but they would get paid if they just showed up. And so just coming from those avenues of looking at ways of rewarding them,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
yeah, just treating them with excellence
That's awesome.
and
Wow.
not just receiving.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and giving. Always a attitude of gratitude and
Mm-hmm.
generosity. It sounds like that's really cool. So then you went to nonprofits after that,
Correct.
and you served at two nonprofits. Is that correct?
I did. So, Gospel Express Ministries,
Mm-hmm.
they're in North Carolina. So we traveled as a family, did more of like a Southern gospel style music
Yeah.
in the day. And so, yeah, we traveled pretty much every state here in the United States
Mm-hmm.
at a lot of church venues, outdoor venues, and also prisons
Okay.
was all a part of
Yeah.
that. And that was also, I love challenges. And, we were in 3 prisons in South Carolina, and we'd have volunteers that would come, and we had
Mm-hmm.
like 30 volunteers. And I right away in my office, I put up the map of South Carolina and put a dot on every prison.
Hmm.
And there was 32 prisons. And I say one day we're going to be in all 32 prisons, and we're going to have 400 volunteers,
Wow.
and we're going to have 30 33 evangelists and 33 singing groups. And within 5 years, that was accomplished.
Wow.
And
Huh.
primarily was, going to each of the chaplains, but I found if I would go directly uh, to the person that oversees all the prisons in South Carolina
Yeah.
and started building a relationship with him
Mm-hmm.
and sharing vision with him, then it would filter down. And
Instead of going to each individual chaplain, you would go to
correct,
the higher up, and that would
correct.
trickle down. Wow. So like
Mm-hmm.
obviously casting vision to your team,
Mm-hmm.
and then as well as yourself, you have to
Mm-hmm.
cast vision to yourself, but then also unique ways of going about things. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how you were able to help grow that
Mm-hmm.
to where it kind of fulfilled your vision from the
Mm-hmm.
start. Because it's a pretty radical dream to transform the ministry in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Were there any other kind of like leadership tactics or leadership tips that you
Mhm.
gained from that, or things that you learned during that season?
Yeah, I would say the greatest thing would be is continue, like I say, going to the right source. Number
Mm-hmm.
one is the key, and not to think that because they're in that position that you don't have a right to inquire on
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yep.
We kind of have the mindset that you need to work your way up. So
Right.
let's work in this lower level, and each one maybe will introduce you to the next. To me, is just take the stab, go to the one all the way to the top,
Yeah.
and just share your vision. And if it connects,
Mm-hmm.
it will filter down much quicker.
How can you relate that to business, to
Hmm.
other business leaders, or just people in leadership in general? How can you relate that idea? Because that was a very specific aspect, but how can you
Hmm.
relate that to leadership nowadays?
Yeah, I would say in leadership, well, if you're thinking of clients, or are
Mm-hmm.
you thinking of in what direction are you saying that?
Um, yeah, I guess clients or just growth in a business in general. Like, how do you take that idea, um, or is it just the ability to adjust your path or your mentality of gaining clients or serving people
Mhm.
or um, yeah, I guess it would be clients or just
I would say probably the biggest thing is you have to take big risk,
mm-hmm,
and understanding that there are some failures that can come into it, and but you have willing to take that risk,
mm-hmm,
because there's some of those risks that it was a no, and it was
yep,
a big no,
right,
but you had to not look at that and said this is it. I did that in my when I owned the garage. I started another division, roadside 24-hour service,
mm-hmm,
and dove into that, equipped it a vehicle. I mean, just went all out
yep,
in doing that, and it was not a success.
okay,
So I turned around and sold that side of it,
mm-hmm,
took the loss, but like just moved ahead, learned
yep,
from it. So I do feel like to be able to, in growth, you do have to take large risks. If you're just going to be very cautious, then your growth is going to be very, very small in your growth. And
yeah,
so to me, large risk
mm-hmm,
um, is worth the gamble.
cool, yeah, that's good. Um, So then you went on to another nonprofit,
Hmm.
and served there for a couple of years.
Yes.
Share a little bit about that as well, and then
Yeah, so there went to Colorado, and there was originally thinking because we were kind of in prison ministry, that was going to be the avenue.
hmm
Just did not feel that the connections were correct at that moment, and so went into more of being a what we call a campus pastor.
hmm
And in that, you do all the interviews and bringing people in for volunteer service and that
okay,
type of thing.
yep,
So that was, and then started a program, kind of like an apprentice program, with that, and had looking at when you sit down with a person that have first arrived and saying you're going to be here a year, what are your goals?
hmm
Because my greatest thing is I'm going to be your biggest fan. I want to fan that flame, and how can I help you achieve those goals?
yeah,
And so then you have quarterly evaluations to see if they are reaching those goals. And so you had to also be very transparent, saying, listen, in the direction you're going, you're not going to achieve these unless somewhere something has to shift. And so just talked a lot about that and creating that space for people to grow in.
yeah,
And so, yeah, that also, the ministry there grew. It was around 75 people there at the time, and when we left, it was over 200
wow,
um, that were a part of the
mm,
organization. And to me, is just putting the right people in the right spot and creating that space for growth
yeah,
allowed that to
mm,
happen. Yeah.
wow, um,
And I will say, each of these areas I have been a part of,
yeah,
I always say that, it's just that I happen to be at the right place at the right time. And it's beautiful to see because not one person can do it.
right,
To me, it has everything to do with team.
yep,
And so each avenue, I've had the privilege of being around the right people that were open to growth,
yeah,
because that's the only way these things can expand as fast as it did. Because in some of these avenues I've been to and been a part of,
Mhm.
it's been awesome to see because it's like the right people were there,
Right.
and it's just needed another person on that team
Yeah.
to energize that area,
Yeah.
and it would expand from there.
Yeah, I love that too because all the things that you're a part of so far were heavy growth
Uh-huh.
during the seasons that you were there, but it is a team aspect, and it's
Absolutely.
like bringing the right people on, or encouraging or empowering the people around you. That really help. It's not one person that does
No.
it, but it's an open mentality of like,
Yeah.
how do we do this together? How do we grow? That's really cool. I saw that, I mean, I guess before or right around when you came to Keystone, because I was there, and I saw that within Marv and just the way that he treated people, really saw something different in people and empowered them and kind of let them grow, and gave them the tools to grow. And that really stood out to me. So I was there for about 5 years. And then early on, you came on board.
Right.
And so then you transitioned from that nonprofit to Keystone. So what, 14 years of nonprofit world,
Correct.
coming back into the business world. What was that transition like, first off? And then how were those that first year or so coming to Keystone?
Yeah, that was obviously, it was a very stretching time
Mm-hmm.
because you had to kind of transition from, business, and I always had kingdom business in mind, and that would have been at the very beginning of my, the first business that I had.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go 14 years and you're full time in ministry. It was a transition of understanding of the value that I'm bringing.
Yeah.
And so that really, to me, was what really came alive there at Keystone. Like you say, Marv was very open to growth, and obviously is where Keystone is today because of his leadership. But he allowed that to happen, and so just bringing that in, I remember at the very beginning, we did not meet together as a team in the
Yeah.
mornings, and it's like, hey, Marv says, hey, I'll give you 5 minutes. 10 minutes max. These guys got to be on the road, and but just how doing that 2 or 3 times a week, he began to see the benefit of the oneness that it would bring in
Mm-hmm.
to the team. And now that happens every morning.
Yep.
And so, with him being very open and wanting to allow growth, he would allow ideas of that nature to come
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
to expand. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, it definitely was an adjustment. The part that I look at, it's you're working with people, and the joy of that in itself, going and knocking on people's doors, and when the door opens, understanding that I have 3 seconds to decide 4 different ways of how I'm going to respond to the person.
Mm.
And to me, I already am learning that as I pull in the driveway. I can see what vehicles they drive. I can see how they mowed their yard. I can see a lot of things within a few minutes, and I'm already deciding who this person is before they open the door. And when they open the door, tells me everything of how I'm going to approach. And my approach is for me to understand their personality. And, as they open the door, if they open the door and they step back, that tells me I kind of step back. And I know that they're a little more reserved. If they open the door and they kind of lean towards you, I kind of just lean towards them and almost walk in.
Yeah.
And those are going to be people that are a lot more aggressive and are high I guys that want to share what's going on. And so I have, like I say, 4 personalities to work with in less than 3 seconds. And to me, that's always a challenge before I get out of my vehicle and trying to figure out if I can ace this.
Yeah.
And you don't every time,
Yep.
but to me, every time's a challenge, and I love that challenge.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so it's adjusting the way you communicate. Mirroring is what a lot of people call that. It's like
Correct.
you want to mirror the person you're communicating with. And that's a huge aspect of building trust. And so for you, what does sales mean? Or like, what is sales to you? And because it can look different to different people, or like the purpose of it. But if you want to share like what sales means to you.
Yeah, what brings me the greatest joy is helping people accomplish what they desire.
Mm.
I love to see people successful.
Yep.
I love seeing businesses. I mean, just you name it. I love to be a part of that. And how can I help that even to a greater extent? And so to me, is every client is how can I help them achieve their dream?
Yeah.
And if I can just be a little bit a part of that to bring that joy for their family, for their neighbors, for their community, whatever that is, to me, if I can be a little bit of part of that, brings me complete satisfaction.
Yeah.
To see them succeed in what their dream was.
Yeah. So it's partnering with them to help them succeed in their dream
Mm-hmm.
and providing value. I think honestly, when I first started sales,
Mm-hmm.
I struggled with it on a personal level,
Mm-hmm.
like just helping materialistic aspects and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And I grew through that because as I got to know Keystone, I got to know what we
Mm-hmm.
provided. I got to know what you guys provided and how you cared for how we cared for them, our
Mm-hmm.
customers, and how we were going to give a top-notch product.
Mm-hmm.
And so it changed the way I viewed sales because it's providing value to the person you're communicating with,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just trying to convince somebody to buy something that they don't need.
Right.
It's helping that knowing that your product, believing in your product, and being like, our service, our product is going to be the best option out there, and helping them understand that. And then, I mean, through Keystone, providing that every step of the process. And I always loved the way that we just, every single step of the process when I was at Keystone was just thought out and customer focused and really caring for the people. What's that been like for you to really help or see Keystone just continue to grow in service to their customers? What are things that you've implemented that have really helped stand out and really help customers feel valued?
Yeah. Well, I know you had it on this podcast, I think, before, but the unreasonable hospitality obviously is something that was a part of the journey prior to reading that book.
Which
And
is similar to double honor.
it
It's like a
is.
very similar mentality or a
It
similar
is.
teaching. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought of that often, of the fact of the whole double honor and how that ties in with, but the unreasonable hospitality and just with going over and beyond was something that I feel like from the very beginning was already beginning to be put in place. And there was a shift in the fact of in sales when you look at, trying to be the lesser expensive person out there versus giving them the very best,
Yeah.
and the price is not the issue.
Yeah.
And so there was a shift, probably I would say 7, 8 years ago for me in sales, that you don't need to worry about the price. You just need to give the value to the client. And again, when you're on their side and wanting to accomplish what their dream desire is, and you're really caring about them, and to have that relationship, that level of trust, you do not need to be, the lesser expensive
Yeah.
person out there at
Yeah.
all.
I remember I think you brought this to us back in the day was there's 3 points of sales or communication was price, speed, and quality. With those three, do you remember that kind of idea?
Yeah, I kind of do now that you're bringing it
Yeah.
up.
Because I think that was partially what shifted that
Mhm.
mentality when we were doing sales at the time, in how we were pursuing clients. We were like, all right, like, yeah, I don't know if you remember that at all.
Yeah, so I mean the quick turnaround in how and again it comes down to that double honor is for the fact of every email, every call that comes in, responding to that in a quick manner. Momentum. Marv talks a lot about that in this season of time. In the last year or two, momentum is everything, and it really started from way back in him seeing what really changes when you answer an email within 30 minutes, and when you answer a phone call and not go to voicemail, when you know for me, there's a few things in sales that you have 100% of control in, and that is being on time. You have that's something every salesperson can ace. That's not doesn't take any special talent. You just need to be there on time. Hello. I always, pull in the driveway. I'm always 10 minutes early.
Yeah.
And so in that again is setting the standard. And so, like you say, being there when they call in, being there, within a week, and then to have the turnaround of having their estimate, their 3D renderings, everything within a week's time.
Yeah.
There's not many out there that can do that. And so you have to have good systems in place. And so we have teams that are in place for that, where a lot of companies would still do it in the fact of one person, would maybe take even the call, but then also would do the estimating and then do the design, and each person does that individually. And we've come up with some systems that allows that to be cut a fourth of that time. And it's more efficient, and who benefits from it is the client.
Yeah, absolutely. With the team now, so now what's your role? You're head of sales, or
Correct.
what does leadership look like for you now, current season, with a growing company and a company that's grown a ton over the last number of years? What does that look like for you practically, and even just like internally, and how to encourage and continue to inspire people?
Yeah, I think continue understanding how growth works for you individually. To me, there's always areas of growth. I enjoy meetings. I love sitting down, processing with people because I learn from them. In sales, you never get it. It's never at a place that you say, hey, if you do this, this, and this is going to occur, because it's always changing. The economy's changing. Everything's changing constantly. And so that's why I enjoy sales, because it's always on a change. And so that means you're constantly trying to learn what is working. And so with the sales team, here we have 6, just bringing another person on makes 7 in our sales team here, but also then Tennessee, we have 2 there in Tennessee, and then New York, there's 2 in New York. And so we just collaborating with them. There's one of the guys from New York's going to come join me here next week, and just be able to sit down and him ride with me to observe, but also for me to continue learning from him. Because to me, I never got to a place to where outside of learning, there's always more you can learn. And so to me, I feel like that is the key in sales, is to understand that it's not that I've learned a technique that is going to ace it from here on out. It's a technique that works for now, but I have to constantly be on the cutting edge of what is new, what is out there, what is the next thing we can bring in to stay on that cutting edge.
So I feel like you're a pretty unique personality as well. It's very easy for you to have that mentality of constantly problem solving, trying to do better, growing. How do you instill that in your team and the people that you bring on board within your sales team?
Yeah, to me, it's become more and more important for the fact of the personality of where you put them on your team. That's become very, very evident. We've had to move people around on our team, and from being what I call outside sales versus inside sales, and some of that adjustments had to be. They belonged on the bus; they were just in the wrong seat. And so you kind of learn that as you go. But the longer I'm in it, the more I am aware. And when I interview someone for that position, I'm a lot more precise of what I'm looking for, because I've now learned some would do okay in this certain personality. But a high I is so important, just across the board, to be the face and to be the person up front. And you definitely need a C person in the estimating side of it, and that is so important. It doesn't mean that a person with a combination of those, but they will never go to the next level.
For the people that don't know disc profile, can you explain the disc profile real quick?
Yes, DISC, obviously, D is a very very dominant, very outgoing, but very driven. And in that drive is important, but often it will run over people getting there. Not in a intentional way. It just naturally comes that way. But they will be driven for that. And I obviously is my personality. Love to chat with people. The brighter the colors, the better. I mean, I have a red Corvette for a reason. These things you just have to have because it's about it's bringing the party to the scene. You just want to be all in part of it. So that's a high I. And then of course, your S's is obviously there's more S's on planet Earth than any other, but they're a lot more sociable, which we all have a sense of that. And then, of course, you have your C's, which are a lot more cautious. And so, when you're leading someone in sales, if they're a C, you want to bring in all the details and go line for line, helping them understand and achieve. Someone more in the S, I like to lead them. I like to tell them what the next steps are. And I just tell them how their neighbors and the community is going to love what they're getting, and they're going to make a big difference in hosting people. And the D just wants to know they can get it done and how quick, and that it's going to be, quick and
so
efficient.
when you're doing a hiring, do you always require them to fill out the disc profile?
Not initially.
Yeah.
We've been in it long enough. Marv does 90% of all the hiring. And then he may bring someone, say, these are a couple guys in your department when it comes to sales that he feels could fit that. But then I will interview them privately to make sure they are a fit. But Marv does very well in understanding that. And so he does, like I say, most of the hiring and then puts them in the right position in the right place. Yeah.
Very cool. So you've seen a lot of growth within Keystone.
Yeah.
Because when you came on board, we were in the old chicken barn over in Whitehorse, and now you guys have the beautiful showroom office space that you have. What's been any stories that really stand out or experiences that really stand out that have shaped you as a leader
Yeah, I think again, being around, obviously the leadership team there, we have each other's back regardless what, and there's not, how would you say, we really stand for each other. And so everyone knows that, and just the beauty of that, and it's not just in the workplace, but it's also outside of work. To me, that's huge. It's not. There's two worlds, but we do that. Those worlds overlap quite a bit in the fact of how we actually care for each other. And so to me, that's been pretty huge, and that's the reason I enjoy it so much. There is just the team vibe that's there, and wanting the best from each person, and giving every person the opportunity to grow. I mean, that's you just have space to grow if you desire to. So a lot of that brought in, setting us even through the fire, through Kevin's death was a major part of our journey that just really gave you even a greater perspective what we're here on planet Earth to do, and it's just to care for one another. And so to me, if you do that within your employees, that will automatically filter out to your clients. And so one thing, sitting and doing seminars or having a lot of teaching on how to take care of clients isn't something we do, because we believe that if we do this for our employees, they will automatically duplicate this for the clients. And so that part of it will just mushroom out. And so taking care of each other within, and that's more than just at the workplace. And so to me is when a family is going through a difficult time, you're actually there and caring for them. You don't separate the two. And so to me, that is the greatest success in business, is creating, a space to where people want to hang out. They're there in the evenings,
Yeah.
and yes, they need to go home, and they want to go home, but they have that tug. It's not like it's 5 o'clock. How quick can I leave?
Yeah.
It's more like, hey, my day is over and it's 5:20. I
Yeah.
need to be heading home.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, yeah, because you guys have gone through a lot of challenges as well. You mentioned the fire and Kevin's passing and Amos's passing as well. A lot of key people, and the fire. I always, through all of that, I was like, if anybody's gonna come through stronger than before, it's Keystone. It's Marv and the team and everybody there, and it's really cool. It inspires me, and I think it's inspired many other people to see you guys bounce back, and to continue to honor them as well, not just bounce back and just keep chugging along with that in the rearview mirror, but you honor Amos and you honor Kevin, and it's incredible to see. So I think there's so many aspects of Keystone and who you guys are, as a business that do inspire other businesses and other leaders and people in general. I think it's amazing where there's a lot of companies that struggle to find good talent. I feel like Keystone is a place that people really want to work, and so. Any other pointers of how to create that culture, or how to create that lifestyle, for within a business?
Yeah. Well, I come back to, I'm a person of faith, and so out of that, understanding just the kingdom business that we're created for, and I really believe when you honor that, God's blessing is on that. So there's favor there. So we've talked about a lot. We know we don't take it for granted. Us as owners, we stay. When we spend time in prayer, I mean, we'll go and at a business meeting, and we'll have communion together at our business meetings. Because again, this is a kingdom business. It's not just something that is separate from maybe what you would do at church. And there's so many things that has been inspired out of that, even just from having communion together. We do that. Just had it a couple of weeks ago at our sales meeting, all of us together. And there's something that sometimes out of that, there's favor that is released. There's things that occur from that. But we also recognize where it comes from and understanding this is divine. And we also know God has given us a platform. And so out of that platform, how are we honoring that? And so we do see that there's favor, but we recognize it, but that gives us even that much more accountability and that much more that we desire to continue. And yes, there are businesses that, that come by and want us to sit down and process things with them and get pointers and things of that nature, and helping them understand, this is something that is divine, that we believe that is just coming in a greater alignment. And when you're in a greater alignment with Christ, his blessings come with it, and it will succeed. And so, endeavoring when there's business opportunities that come, understanding that yes, sometimes you look at it from a numbers perspective, you're like, well, this would be very wise to step into, but very cautious of that, and spend time in prayer and fasting. We literally take it serious in that way, and wait until there is peace and feel like this is the direction to go. Where I feel like there's companies that if the numbers look correct, let's just do it. And there's not that moment to where, are you here to steward that or not? And so sometimes that's where I see businesses dive into things and they do not flourish, but for a short time. And it was because it wasn't for them to steward. And so to me, what God has given you to steward is where the blessing is going to come. And then the overflow, people benefit from it, from your employees to your clients.
Yeah. What's been one of the most fun projects you've worked on? We'll change the gears a little bit.
Okay.
Do you have a project that really stands out that was just very exciting?
Well, probably what goes back first comes to mind immediately is, I was over there with a client east of here, Plymouth meeting area,
Hmm.
and walking into their house and coming into each of each room. They had arches in every room,
Hmm.
coming into there, and they invited me, yeah, into their dining room table, and they had an architect already did plans for them,
Hmm.
and so they spread out the plans and says, "Hey, would y'all be interested in building this project?" And the architect did a great job,
Hmm.
but it still was kind of, yeah. But to me, in my mind, I seen these arches as I walked in, and I'm like, in this space, and it being about 28 feet wide and maybe, I don't know, 20 feet deep.
Hmm.
If we would do we call it now barrel
Yep.
ceilings. If we would do a barrel ceiling, and that's again where taking that risk.
Hmm.
So, in talking with her, assuring her that we could do this, but then relating to her says, would she be open to another design
Hmm.
that she would not be obligated and it would not cost her? Because for this architect, she paid a lot of money for.
Hmm.
She says, well, if it's no cost, then absolutely. And so I remember coming back and talking to the team, talking to Marv and different ones of them. They're like, well, we don't know how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And but let's design it and let's see what
Hmm.
happens. And in that, taking it back to her a couple weeks later, sitting down, showing hers first, and then after showing hers, saying, hey, by the way, I do have another one that we came up with.
Hmm.
Would she would like to, take a look at it? And she did. And she was just in awe. And she was like, I have to have it.
Yeah.
And I says, well, you do know it's, quite a bit more in price.
Yeah.
And I remember selling it and then coming back to the team. And they're like, Ron, you sold it, but now how are you going to build it? I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not for me to figure out. My job is to sell. Your job is
To
to
bring it to
figure
life. Yeah.
figure out how this here is going to happen. And I remember that would have been the first, how would you say, the first sale
Yeah.
in something that we did not know. We knew it could be built,
Hmm.
but then never built one like it before.
Yeah.
And so now that's, yeah, we probably do 4 or 5, maybe it varies from year to year, maybe 10 a year,
Yeah.
out of the 300. So it has to be for the right project,
Yeah.
but it is still kind of a wow factor.
Hmm.
Uh,
I remember that project.
yes,
And I,
yeah.
I remember also you being very, not known for, but you're very good at selling something
Mhm.
and then being like, all right, team, here we go. We got to figure out how to bring this to life, which I think can be challenging for certain crews and for
Correct.
certain teams or
Mhm.
personalities. But I
Mhm.
think it also does inspire greatness
Mhm.
because it's pulling people out of their comfort zone and being like, we don't know how to do this, but let's
Mhm.
figure it out together and do the best possible that we can together
Mhm.
as well. And so I think I remember that of you, that you were very quick to be like,
Yeah.
all right, the customer wants this, let's figure out how to make it
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
And I think that mentality can be challenging for certain
Mhm.
people, but is also very good because it does, yeah, it inspires
Mhm.
greatness.
And I feel like that's having the right team
Mm-hmm.
together. And we do have a good team.
Yeah.
And, there's times that I did get pushback. They're like, I don't know how this is going to be done.
Yeah.
And kind of put the responsibility back on my lap. And at a very quick turnaround, one of the leaders on the production side says, listen, Ron, you just keep selling. We'll keep figuring it out.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so that kind of shifted things,
Yeah.
where it wasn't like putting the responsibility on me, but knowing that it could happen,
Yeah.
and inspired, like you said, others to step up, and
Yeah.
actually became, and you had to put the right people in that space
Yeah.
that says, hey, challenge me,
Yeah.
where not always did we have that in that right space, so I got a lot of kickback,
Yeah.
but putting the right people there that wanted growth and wanted challenges, um, And
That's really good because I think that can be. I've heard different talks of like how sales and marketing or sales and production can clash heads because the sales, their goal is to sell the project. It's like to give the customer the best and greatest possible project that they can or service or whatever it is that you're selling. And then marketing and production, they're like, we don't, we've never done this before. We don't know how to. We don't even know if this is possible. And so I think it's really cool. And maybe it is just a seat change or a mentality change on production and marketing and how you can create cohesion between departments. Do you have any insight on that side of things? So how to create a team that really just works well together?
Well, I think again the mindset of who that leader is in that division.
Yeah.
Because the person we have in that division, he does so good. And there's sometimes we're in a team meeting and we're kind of discussing how this is going to occur.
Yeah.
And some of them were like, well, this can't do it this way, we can't do it that way. And his attitude is always, but there is a way, and we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
There is a way.
Yeah.
And so you have to have that right person in that enjoys, to learn,
Yeah.
and they'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
And so far it's worked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's really
and it
good.
allowed, because we have had meetings to where earlier on I says, do we just want to be a deck builder?
Mm-hmm.
It does in our name say we're custom. So what does custom mean?
Right.
And so, in my opinion, custom, there's nothing
Yep.
that cannot
It's not
be.
cookie cutter. It's
No,
custom.
yeah, it is custom.
Yeah.
So, and for me to understand, I watch a lot of videos. I look at a lot of things, all over the U.S. and over the world. There's a reason. I watch things that's $1 million backyards.
Yep.
And to think back in the day, I was looking at $1 million backyards back in the day when we thought a sale of, let's say, 200,000 was
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Now, yes, we do $1 million backyards. But to think that was 10 years ago,
Yeah.
that I was envisioning that this is something could happen, and taking little keys from that.
Yeah.
And saying, well, we could do this part of this $1 million.
Right.
We can't do a whole $1 million backyard, but we could do this portion of it.
Yeah.
But how that will just continue building on each other over time.
And it's that mentality of like 1% greater every day or 1% better is going to continue to compound on itself. And that's awesome. Yeah. It is incredible to see where Keystone is now.
Yeah.
Like when I was there very early on, and even some of those larger projects at the time, like it was very exciting to see, like getting into those larger projects, and now to see the $1 million backyards that you guys are doing and designing and doing with excellence, and it's continuing. It's almost like that mentality doesn't change. Like you want to provide excellence no matter what scale you're at. And I think that's one of the reasons why Keystone has excelled so well over these years, is that even on these smaller projects, the goal was excellence and really care and taking care of people and the product. And that continues to grow as your products or your projects grow. I think it's just really inspiring for me, as well as a ton of other leaders. They see Keystone and they see that as an example of excellence and care. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, right now I enjoy the side of it can just be a small job, and I actually can get so excited about that job of how to take that client over the edge and make them feel as if it's $1 million job, because in their mind and with their resources, it is. For someone that can afford $1 million project, and someone that can only afford a tenth of that, but to be able, and I get a thrill out of it. So to me, where I'm at now today, obviously in sales, the larger jobs, the greater, it's just accomplishment there. But I'm kind of in that season to where I enjoy bringing someone in that that is a small portion of that, but then allowing them to feel the same of what another person would. That's a challenge that I enjoy bringing on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that speaks so highly of your character as well as Keystone. And yeah. What does legacy mean to you? We'll wrap up here in a little bit, but what does legacy mean to you?
Yeah, legacy means to me like, accomplishing the things and doing things with excellence to lay a foundation for someone else to move on from there.
Yep.
To me, yeah, in sales, I'm bringing sales guys on, and I constantly tell them, if I do my job correctly, you're going to outsell me, but you're going to have to work hard for it. And so it was just, this year that one of my sales guys outsold me a month. And we had a big celebration about it, and all that. But that's my desire.
Yeah.
Is that I desire to lay down a foundation that can go much greater and beyond where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's what legacy is setting other people up to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I enjoy in businesses. Probably one of the difficult parts for me is I love to share all the keys to some key ingredients to making a business successful.
Right.
And I just want to share it with everyone.
Exactly.
And understanding that's not always wise. And I get that opportunity sometimes in other states.
Yeah.
And depends where I'm at.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I love that because it's not, to me, these things aren't just for me to hold.
Right.
It is to be shared, and it's meant to help others. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways, to me, understanding just the whole thing with the double honor that goes in marriage, in your children, in every aspect, and not just in business. And if it is not happening in those other aspects, most likely it's not going to happen in your business either.
Yeah.
And so to me, it becomes your character.
Yep.
And so a legacy is someone, in my opinion, I want to leave a legacy that I am a person that will double honor people, not just as a client, as an employee, as a friend, as someone I met for the first time at the airport today.
Yeah. So good. I think we got to end it there. Do you have any other last words that you want to share? Just about this podcast is business, leadership, and legacy.
Yes.
So anything on those last?
First of all, just blessing you. I just have seen, a lot of your integrity and your growth, and from the very beginning of us connecting, back 14 years ago.
Yeah.
No, 11 years ago.
11 years ago.
Yeah, back in 2014. But and how where our paths cross, and just for the fact of seeing the diligence that you had always, your integrity and what you desired, and where it has went from there.
Yeah.
And the business has done well for you, and I'm excited to see where all this is going to take you in the future.
Thank you.
So proud
Thanks,
of you.
Ron. Thank you very much. We'll end it at that. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, and blessings to you and the whole Keystone team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the 513 podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to follow us and subscribe, and send this to a friend that might enjoy it.